Welcome, everyone. It's great for us to be together on Shabbat. We usually like to think of Shabbat as a special time where we come to a place of peace, a place of wholeness, and a place where we can really be grateful for the gift of life. So we're going to start with this beautiful Sukkah Shalom, asking God to place over us a booth of peace, a place of respite after a busy week.
Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shalom Shalom spread over us wings of peace, shalom. Draw water in joy from the living well. Draw water in joy from the living well. Mayim Chayim, waters of life, shalom. Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shalom Shalom spread over us wings of peace, shalom.
Well, we're always blessed and fortunate to be together, being together in community, sharing these beautiful words of prayer is really a way to realize how good it is to be together. And we're going to do Hine Matovu as a way of pressing that in prayer.
Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
Good and pleasant it is that brothers and sisters and dwell together. Now we're going to take time to light the candles, officially bringing the light of Shabbat into the room.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Vetzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
It's always been done. This is the way we were taught to bless the people. Cantor Andy and I will now transmit the priestly blessing to you. Yivarachecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may God lift up God's face to you and grant you peace.
We're going to continue with Psalm 92. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat.
And this week we will do the bottom half of things. It says, the righteous bloom like a date palm, and they thrive like a cedar of Lebanon. Tzadik atamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yizkeh shetuli bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenun b'seva deshenim verananim iyu להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה בו.
Now we reach the pinnacle moment of the Kabbalah Shabbat service when we sing Lecha Dodi, a beautiful medieval prayer that recognizes the covenantal relationship between humankind and God, where we recognize that not only is it a covenantal relationship, a partnership, but it's also a loving partnership. It's sort of like a marriage. We welcome the Shabbat Queen at the end of this prayer to acknowledge our betrothal to the divine presence in the world.
Lecha dodi likrat kala פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי. שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני אלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise in body or spirit or both to greet the Sabbath bride with verse 9. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
There's an interesting verse in that prayer which I'll refer to in my teaching tonight, where it's the verse 5. Awake, your light has come, arise, shine, awake, and sing. It's this idea that in order to appreciate the divine in your life, you have to be awake, you have to be alert, you have to have presence. You can't just let life pass you by. We'll talk a little bit about this in my teaching, but I wanted to just show you that. Thank you, Cantorial. But now we're going to enter our Mariv service, and we start with our call to community, the Baruch Hu, where we acknowledge that we're all together as one, and we're all here for the same purpose, to help our spirits rise and our soul grow as we connect to something bigger and more mysterious than we can ever imagine. Please stand as we say the Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 ya la la. Ya la 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 ya la la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach, Hamevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
Now we say a blessing for the evening. Evening is when our days begin, so it's sort of like thanking God for another day. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Amen.
We'll continue with our prayer of appreciation of God's oneness and specialness with Micha Mocha.
Should we do Ahavat Olam first, Rabbi?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amecha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbenu Uvkumenu na'asiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu Me'orech yameinu Uvahem negei yomam v'layla Negei yomam v'layla Ve'ahavadcha al tasir Memenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael
We're going to continue with the Shema and the Ahavta. It's our moment of recognizing the oneness of the world, where there is a deep connection of everything in the world. There's a connection of each of us that we sometimes have trouble acknowledging, but it's there and it's eternal. And there's a connection to the oneness of the loving energy that flows through the universe and flows through each of us.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha. Ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Now we're going to go to the shores of the sea as it splits with Micha Mocha.
כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נעדה בקודש, תורת תהילות אוסף אלה, תורת תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פת אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Blessed are you, Redeemer of Israel. Now, we'll prepare ourselves. We're going to take 3 steps backwards and 3 steps forward after we stand, as we enter the magical world of the Amidah. It's our time of deepest connection in the Mariv service with the mystical, loving energy of the universe. We can either choose to say the traditional prayers or speak your own heart to the universe. Either or both pathways and journeys within this prayer. And we'll end and meet again with Shalom Rav. Cantor Andy will bring us back to earth with these beautiful words, asking for great peace to land upon the earth and land upon each one of us. Please stand. We're going to recite it silently.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam.
Thank you, Cantorial. Well, the other day, I was hanging out with my grandson, who's an aspiring musician. We talked about several classical composers, and I told him my favorite was Mozart. And that made me think of this entertaining movie about Mozart called Amadeus. I don't know how many people have seen it. It's a movie that recounts Mozart's life. I'm not sure how accurate it is historically, but there's one moment in the movie that was particularly moving and inspiring for me. And really, I'd like to talk to you about a little bit tonight. A great deal of the movie revolved around Mozart's relationship with another composer who was in the Viennese court at the same time Mozart was. His name was Antonio Salieri. Now, Salieri was kind of a competitor of Mozart's, of sorts. And there was one scene in the movie where Salieri is asked to compose a march. So all the court members are around, and Salieri creates this march, which is really quite nice. And then Mozart, who in the movie is very loud and very forceful, almost to the point of being obnoxious, says, "Oh, that march is really good, but here's how I would do it." And he takes the foundational notes of Salieri's, and he adds arpeggios and his little Mozart flourishes. And the piece is like much, much better. It's like incredible piece. Even though the Salieri march was good, this is beyond good. This is just spectacular. And of course, Salieri is totally humiliated at being shown up by Mozart. And someone comes up to him afterwards and says, how does Mozart do this? I mean, how does he take music and create such beautiful, beautiful pieces of music? And this is the line I really love. Salieri says, well, here's how he does it. God speaks in Mozart's ear, but God doesn't speak to me. Now, if I was writing that dialogue, I would be a court member, and you know what I would say to Salieri? You're wrong. It's not that God speaks to Mozart. It's that Mozart knows how to hear what God is saying in his ear. And unfortunately, Salieri, you do not know how to listen to God's voice. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Does that silly rabbi really think that God speaks to people, that people hear God's voice in their ear? And even though on some level I'd really like to think that, I'd really like to think that God speaks to me and that God speaks to all of you. But that isn't what I mean by God speaking to us. What I mean is that I believe that we're all created in the divine image. And in that creative process, God has placed divine wisdom inside of all of us. And some of us really have developed the capacity to access that divine wisdom. And we can create beautiful music, beautiful art, and wise words whenever we access the divine wisdom we all have within us. Unfortunately, like Salieri, some of us never find it or rarely find it because it's difficult to find this divine wisdom. It's difficult because life's experiences, some of which are very traumatic, create boundaries that make us not trust ourselves, not trust what we believe is true. In addition to that, some of us have had teachers, parents, friends who have told us, have kind of told us not to trust ourselves. They did this not out of malice. They did it because they didn't want us to take on some big projects, do something really, really new, and find out that we were disappointed and it didn't work out. So let me tell you a story. When I was growing up, I had a neighbor who lived next door to me, and I would go after school to this neighbor's house because my mother was working. And she came to become like a member of the family. We called her Aunt Pearl, even though she had no genetic connection to us. She was really wonderful to me. In fact, in some ways, she was easier for me to deal with than my mother. Eventually, unfortunately for me, she moved to another city and our relationship became more distant. But I remember my last visit with her when I was 12 years old. I went to visit her and she was in a hospital room. She was actually dying of breast cancer. Even though as a 12-year-old, I really didn't know what was going on. I just knew she was sick. So we had a nice visit. And then my Aunt Pearl said to me, well, Jason, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I'd never been asked that before. So I thought for a minute and I said, well, Aunt Pearl, I'm going to run for Congress. I'm going to be a senator from New York City. And then I'm going to be the first Jewish president of the United States. And as a 12-year-old, I really believed that. I really believed that. And Aunt Pearl, God bless her, had just the right answer. Just the right answer. She said to me, Jason, if you wanted to be president, I think you could do it. I really do. But, knowing you how I've known you growing up, I think you'd be a great doctor. You should think about being a doctor. And from that moment on, that's where I went. It just seemed like a better idea. Now, if I told my parents, particularly my mother, that I wanted to be president of the United States, you know what she would have said? What? You're crazy? You can't do that. We don't have any money. We have no status. It'll never happen. You'll just end up with nothing. Don't think about that. But Aunt Pearl, no, she validated my divine wisdom. She validated my divine wisdom. So, yeah, I went on to become a doctor, and I still haven't become president yet. So why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because I think many of us have got into the habit of not believing in ourselves. We listen to the negative narratives, which are embedded by, as I said, even sometimes people we love, like our parents and our teachers. And just like Salieri, we don't hear the divine voice whispering to us. This divine voice is not easy to access. And there's some wrong ways to seek it. We actually have a leader of our country who finds the wrong way to seek it because he seeks it through greed and a desire for power over others. That way, you never find divine wisdom. You only find divine wisdom if you're seeking to make the world and yourself a better place. That's the key that unlocks that wisdom. Our tradition has all sorts of ways that it assists us in accessing that intuitive divine wisdom inside of us. Shabbat's a big one, because on Shabbat we put everything aside, all the noise that's going on in our lives, and we take time to think about who we are and where we're going. And even tonight, we sang this prayer, and I talked about it before, Lecha Dodi, and it reminded us to stay awake so that we can hear that divine voice inside of us that's trying to speak to us. There's one other way we can make the world a better place and use this divine wisdom. We can use it by, instead of discouraging others who are taking on some new project, encourage others, even if it seems like a stretch. Encourage others to try something new. So it might not work out, but that's for them to find out. You're there to validate them and stand with them on their journey. And when you validate others, you might be unconsciously validating yourself and your belief in your judgment and your ability to make decisions. So my 13-year-old grandson is very involved in music. He plays the trombone, he plays the piano, and he's actually pretty accomplished. Now, maybe he's going to be another Mozart when he grows up. I don't know. How can I possibly know where his journey can be? But I know the one thing I will do is I'll encourage him on this journey. And if he's destined to reach some greatness in his music, I'll be part of the process of inspiring and helping him believe in himself. So this week, take some time to see what that voice is telling you about how you should live your life and what you should do. And who knows, if you listen, you might hear something, and you might hear something that will change your life and change the world. That's my real hope for all of us. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi.
So our service continues with one of the parts of the service I really think is quite important, prayers of healing. And so I'm going to ask anybody who has somebody they want to remember for healing, please call out the name. You can raise your hand first, and I'll call you. Karen.
Andy Hyman, Julian Smith, Rachel Furman, Karen Harris, Annabelle Gurwitch. I think that's it for now.
Nice.
Oh, and let's make sure that Alan Hyman gets completely recovered.
Amen.
Amen. Sue, I think you had your hand up.
Janet Holtzman.
Anyone else? Claudia.
Donna Loken.
Sherry.
Stuart Paul.
Stuart Paul. Anyone else? Donnie. You're muted. You need to unmute. There you go.
Mary Hidalgo.
Mary Hidalgo. Anyone else? Bhavani.
Tony and Les Gallant, Jerry Gilstrop, Joanne Bircher, Marjorie Lair and Barry Spiro, Lissa Fountain, and Rich Archer.
And I want to remember Bhavani and my son Gideon, Cantorial, you have someone?
Yes, I will add first the names from the chat on YouTube. My wife is remembering Esther Bat Aliza and John Strain. And Charlotte, bless her, is remembering my wife, who had some dental surgery a few days ago and could use a few extra prayers to get through it. She's doing great, but it's a lot. I remember, of course, always holding in my heart my mom, Ellen, my little sister, Anna.
Now, the Mishaberach prayer, it's part of the healing of the world. Who knows whether it causes illness to go away, but it certainly sends healing energy into the world, and always worth saying, always worth saying. So please join Cantor Andy as we sing the melody.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekol habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekol habracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Holy One, a blessing, loving energy of the universe, please bring healing of body and spirit to all those that we've mentioned. But please also bring healing to all those we haven't mentioned. And particularly bring healing to the hostages that are still held under terrible circumstances, to their families that are suffering, waiting for them to return, and to all those who have returned. May they recover from the trauma of their experience, and may they bring themselves fully and wholly into the world, completely recovered and completely healed.
Amen.
So we continue with Aleinu, our prayer of responsibility, that is not just, we just don't sit back and wait for God to fix the world, that we're in partnership, and we are part of that process of Tikkun Olam. We are brought here to make the world a better place and to bring God's name to all of the world.
Please rise and join me. Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Now it's our moment to remember those who are no longer with us. We say the Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Does anyone have somebody who they'd like to, whose anniversary is of their passing is right now? They'd like to remember them tonight. Avani, you're muted.
In the last few weeks, there have been several yard sites for our family. My father, George Shepard, my grandfather, David Weiss, and Jason's father, Leonard Mann.
Answer, Andy.
And today is actually the first yard site for my father, Steve Henry.
Anyone else?
Rabbi,
Yeah.
from YouTube, Charlotte is remembering, all of her beautiful family members who have passed within the last year.
It's been quite a year for Charlotte.
Yes, indeed.
So please stand and repeat after me. If you'd like to stand for those who don't have someone to stand and say Kaddish for, please stand with me. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Yom Yivra Kirutei v'Yom Lich Malchutei Chai v'Kol Beit Yisrael V'Agala u'Gizman Kariv V'Imru Amen. Shlomo Rabba V'Yiborach Yolam Li'ol Maya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpahar V'Yitramam Aseh V'Yithadar V'Yithalev V'Yithalal Shmei V'Yisham V'Yichru Leila Min Kol Birchata V'Shivata Tushbachata V'Nechamata Amiran V'Alma V'Imru Amen. Hey Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chayim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael Imru Amen. V'Seh Shalom B'Mamav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Kol Yisrael Amen.
Amen.
We're going to finish tonight's Shabbat service. Thank you all for being with us with this beautiful new tune, which really is about listening to the voice. What I spoke about earlier tonight, the importance of listening to the voice. It's always out there. It's always out there and inside. We just need to learn how to focus and listen to it.
התשמע קולי, רחוקי שלי. התשמע קולי, באשר הנך, קול קורא בעוז, קול בוכה בדמי, ומעל הזמן, מצווה ברכה, התבל זו רבה, ודרכים ברם, נפגשות לדק, נפרדות לעד, מבקש אדם, אך חושלות רגליו, לא יוכלו למצוא את אשר אבד. Can you hear my voice from so far away? Can you hear my voice? In the night I pray for your sheltering peace. Let your love take flight, calling out to you from the dark of night. Can you hear my voice? התשמע קולי, רחוקי שלי.
Well, thank you, everyone. Karen, do you have some words for us tonight?
Sure. So just to announce, our next service will be in person as well as on Zoom at our residence church. And that will be on Saturday, May 17th. So that's in a couple of weeks. And that's really about it for now, I would have to say. Rabbi, if I might, I just want to mention something else about Mozart and Salieri. I don't remember where I heard this, was probably on KUSC, but there was apparently a letter that Salieri had written that I think was the basis for his how Mozart was portrayed in the film as this loud goofball, because that's how Salieri writes about him. But he was also apparently Mozart's teacher, and Mozart enters this room and he calls him master and then proceeds to master him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really kind of a touching moment. I think we all have this capacity to really access really spectacular things. Some of you here have been performers and know that there's that moment where you really access things that you didn't know you had inside of you. And the more we learn how to do that, the more we make the world a better place. The more we learn how to do that. Everybody tells us we can't do it, but we can. We can do it. We can do it. I believe that.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? And there are wrong ways to go about doing it. We have a world leader who's teaching us the wrong way to go about doing it. That's why all the plans are so ineffectual. So why don't we open it up and just have a little socializing, and then we'll pull the curtain down.
Well, as we do that, we'll say goodbye to our friends on YouTube and wish them a very beautiful Shabbat. Thank you all for joining us. And our stream has ended, so now we can say nasty things about the people on. I'm kidding. We would never do that.